Welcome to Weird Rap Podcast episode 19, featuring interviews with two of my favorite rappers, the world-famous Elucid and relatively obscure StapleMouth. We will also debut a new radio play series, The Adventures of Kounterclockwise. I'll respond to some of the pissed-off messages I received in response to last month's episode regarding the Buck 65 album review and the fact that I cursed out my listeners for not rating and reviewing. And first, I'll mention some new music. King Cobra is the new album by Infinity Knives and Brian Ennals. This is a pretty eclectic, inventive array of genre-fusing and blends of old and modern elements. Lyrically, it's all over the map as well, from nihilistic drug binge tales to overtly political stuff.
Put my hands up, they still blinding me in the eye with a tear gas canister. Fuck the police, them practices a clan. Wanted to say that, so I made a jam. It is what it is. I could be the last nigga on earth, I'm not tiptoeing for no pig. Badges, give them license to harassers. Coons and Calabasas, most cops die in car crashes. Getting hit while pulling niggas over. Trying to fit a fucking quote. That's what you get. Brian Ennals in Infinity. Look closely, and we can show you the enemy. My people left with Harriet, my bloodline pure.
Links to all these releases will be in the show notes. Clubbing is the new remix EP by Clipping. This is four on the floor dance rap, exactly like I was saying I wanted to hear more of on the last episode. And in my opinion, rapping doesn't get much better than that of Clipping's lead vocalist, David Diggs.
Outside the air rushes in, it's cold as fuck, bullets laughing like hell. More homies struck down, the mission that's failed. The wood is split, splinter chandelier falls and smashes hard glass and steel everywhere. And every throat screams and protest, you all are dying there. Really will anyone care? Truth like death comes for everyone. Barely had to summon what was coming, it was creeping on the come up that was right up in your face. Face it, let it resonate up in your bone a minute. When you shiver, make a sliver big enough for it to have a space. Ripped, like, sipping away, maybe you can make it out with just a little bit of grace. But it truly doesn't give a fuck about the thing you're feeling. It is here to make you understand that
Johnny 23, the 9-member supergroup, including Lodeck and friends, has a new album called No Scope. This is the first project by the whole crew in a long time. It features and is dedicated to their late member, Label S. It's very rugged, high impact, high energy, full of psychedelic infused debauchery and occult references.
Trip passengers skew it fast. Get nasty to fuel and snacks. Decapitated sapient faces with dehydrated for space food. A reanimated alienation was evaporated to make new biscuits and air reduction. Slick squid interfere with production. Discus skin of air with suction. Sick shit now prepare for abduction.
Drop the Marvin on them. Drop the Marvin on them.
Salute to Lodeck for sending me the package of music. We're going to try to get him on the podcast because he's got quite a storied history. And just as we're going to tape, I've been listening to this new album by Azarius. He's the producer of Buy Muy Drugs, a project that I deeply love. His album Of the Chasm features vocals by Nappy Nina, Lil Kid, Day Tripper, and more. The beats are really weird and catchy, the mixes sound great, and I'm enjoying it very much.
Turn desire into a jewel for my ring. Bottled up the blood and sold it to Charlie Sheen. We mobbing up on you like gangsters and some marbles. Carcasses flesh rotten, keep the stench in our nostrils. Form like core, kick them over like apostles. They thought I'd be docile, but the bars stay hostile like a bunch of young travelers. Not like rock form, like migrate the mind state. Got the law nerves like they're going on a blind date. I ain't the type of act out of blind faith. So we roll the line, get higher and higher.
And I gotta add just 2 more releases. Infinite Lives just put out a new album called First They Came for the Programmers. I've been listening to this guy since around 2005, and he just keeps getting better and weirder. Highly recommend this new album.
Check 1, 2, out of sight like nanotech. When it starts to infect the fibroid glands located in your neck, you should look mad suspect. Too many dots to connect. What the heck? Every day's a new day to praise the Lord and say fuck my neck. So no regrets. Yo.
And Andrew Mbaruk is constantly putting out music. He has already put out 3 releases since this one I want to talk about. I think Andrew is one of the greatest rap lyricists and probably my favorite rapper, period. I just love listening to him. I think he's a total genius. His music isn't for everyone. His delivery isn't for everyone. His self-produced work is kind of a bedroom indie rock musician style. Drums, bass, guitar, and keyboards sometimes played by Andrew himself in a kind of sloppy way. Sometimes I think it works great. Other times I think it can be a little same sounding. But this album in particular, Unclassified, is to me just a beautiful display of Andrew's production at its best. And his lyrics are amazing as always. And his vocal delivery to me is very just soothing. And I could just listen to Andrew all day. But I highly recommend Unclassified by Andrew Mbaruk.
The poet, trained at the University of Spitting Flames. A TA arrested for molestation. A DJ texting a prof his nakedness, a provocation. This hospital facing the abyss. These naked truths of the morgue. Emailing you the report. Rhyme the universal force. The light current through the leaves. Like some urgent new disease, as Beatlemania televised, as reading in jail.
And finally, Weird Rap Records, in conjunction with Kane Corso and Superior Belly, is releasing the new StapleMouth album, Estuary. We'll get into that and some essential history of the Hawaiian underground rap scene in our interview. Here he is, the one and only StapleMouth!
It was through playing the saxophone where I discovered at a young age that I could take those notes from the saxophone and turn them into syllables of words, for words. So then, like, a lot of my earlier stuff it was me depending on cadences and melodies more than rhyming. You know, like if the tones at the end of the bars matched for me, that was enough to make it work. And then if you do that confidently, it nobody can tell. Like if you listen to the Proletariat stuff, like I don't rhyme at all. You know, it was just following a melody and just committing to it.
Between copy people computing the uphill task of conquering the riddles of life in 2 months of educating guesses, lecturing on the meaning of vanity, analyzing the shadow of every piece written, puggling desire, inspiration, and more. Wrote up a note for the city and stretched with a fountain pen after the overthrow, and settled the civil unrest with the mountain men against the city folks. And the daydream works well for the blue bloods, better than a strong made back and shovel, but it's hard for the mason to
my family supported everything. We supported each other, everything that we were passionate about. And when I was playing the saxophone and I graduated from high school, I decided to sell the saxophone to buy a 4-track. And that's when we started recording the Of Proletariat's album in my bedroom.
Classic album.
Oh, thank you. It's a cringer for me. I have a hard time hearing it. Yeah, I mean, but everybody probably says that about their own stuff, you know.
Sure.
But that album put me in a place where I was able to meet a whole bunch of other, all of my heroes during that time. And I was able to meet cool people like you, you know? So because of that, I'm very grateful for that. And the Proletariat, you know, band members that made it all possible. And it was a good thing.
Yeah, I was blown away by you all. I was searching because I had recently moved to Hawaii, just did an online search, I think, for like abstract rap or underground rap Hawaii, something like that.
Right.
And you all popped up. And I was immediately taken by it, you know, so like complex and abstract. And I assumed that you might have been influenced by like Anticon or Freestyle Fellowship or something, but it's interesting to hear that you're probably actually influenced more by like Bone Thugs as far as like the melodic speed rapping, right?
Yeah, no, and I mean, I'm not going to deny that. But then, you know, what's weird is as I met people, a lot of the people that were influenced by like Freestyle Fellowship and, you know, from Freestyle Fellowship, basically, I was influenced by those people. I didn't necessarily sit there and soak in and listen to. I knew of them, but I wasn't really taking it in. In Hawaii, everybody built off each other, you know. So then, you have Jessel and you have Omega 6, and we all had our own, you know, our own style to it. But you know, like I can listen to Enter You, and I can break it down, and I can say this part's Jessel, that's Omega 6, that's Staples.
Yeah, let's talk more about Omega 6, Jessel, and other Oahu-based or larger Hawaiian Islands-based rappers that might have influenced you or been a part of that same late 90s, early aughts scene. And, you know, how would you characterize it? How would you describe the sound that people were coming up with? Yeah, just talk about the highlights and with the important characters of that lineage.
I remember one of the first times I went to a show, and I was like maybe 17, and I was old enough to go to a show, and I went with a group of friends that they were into music, and they're more b-boys and DJs. And when I went there, like one of the first people, I'm not going to say his name, but then he was well known. And when we came walking through the building, all I heard, he was just like staring at us, and it was like newbie parade, you know. And I was like, oh man, this is going to hurt my feelings. But then but it was that same night where I've always heard of Omega 6. I've never seen him live. And and then Timer or Angry Wobot, you know, Hidden Habitats. But I've always heard of all these legends, island legends. You know, there should be like petroglyphs of them. Like they deserve that. Like Omega 6's style, not only are his lyrics like witty, like super funny, but it was so clean, and his chops were so and it was like machine gun, you know, and it's just like, whoa. Being somebody that was into rapping really fast, that just blew my mind.
He was very melodic with it too.
Yeah.
Besides the precision.
Yeah.
Walking around his Lord and just within. Never the shadow was all of us, any night seeking the venom is sleeping in all of us. Life is the numbers and self-considered the fully keeper, what you been a skipper who's hidden the followers. The words I call it defeated, the accident reason awake as a messenger, however, nothing that hoodie falls within a sickle like shit for emptiness, ready for company, cover companions, defending the London, the heavenly tendency, separate body from spirit, the only way possible, dreaming at the level level, the time to be far enough to be reminded of living as well, and pinnacle, waking from every definitive, evidence, proving that life is the pinnacle,
we recorded High Fences one day. It was the first track that we ever played from the Young Proletariats album. And we made a rough mix down. And that same day we took it to KTUH. And it was my first time there. And then we met up with Cavett, Dustin, Wembley Small Fry. He already knew everybody in the scene. He was part of it for a while.
And to date, this is like 2001, 2000. What are we talking about here?
Yeah, we're talking about 99, 2000.
Okay.
You know, I was able to meet a lot of the people that I looked up to through Wembley Small Fry, because he was already established in multiple scenes. So we just made a super rough mix and went straight down there and played it, and the response from it was weird to me. I was like, what? People are digging this. It was really weird. And then that just turned into one of the hangout spots, one of the places I would go to, and then I would meet a lot of people. And then there's a record store out in Hawaii called Two Grooves that pretty much held it down as far as making all the cool stuff accessible.
Yeah.
And James from there, the owner of that store, was like, you know, I throw a lot of shows, and I want you guys to always be, you know, part of the opening acts or be involved with it. And I was able to meet so many of my heroes because of that. it was just weird, like I just don't understand how it all came together that way. And
well, there was, I mean, from my perspective, there was so much happening. There was just a lot of activity, from the record stores that you mentioned to the B-boy events.
It was, the Hawaii is different. It's like it's one big scene, and good music travels really well as far, travels.
Yeah. On an island, it's easy to.
Yeah, it just, if all these kids are into it, it's gonna take. So then, there were even times where I pulled up next to cars and they were playing like Patriots on Parade and stuff. Nice. And I was like, what the hell is going on? I was like, this is weird. But then that's just the way things operated on the island at that time. I don't know how it is now.
From my perspective, I was on Maui, but we would take pilgrimages, me and my like little crew of hip hop friends.
Yeah, cafeterias.
Yeah, we would go over there every once in a while to
what was it? Snail on a Stick during that time, huh?
Oh yeah, Tangley Weaves had Snail on a Stick records, and then our house was called the Cafeteria. But
nice.
Yeah, me and Damoon. We're gonna talk about Damoon in a minute, but I don't know. It seemed like basically a lot of activity on Oahu, especially, and when you mentioned being called the Newbie Parade, and me thinking about like all the B-boy battles and MC battles, I wonder, like, not to like play into stereotypes of like Hawaiians liking to fight or whatever, but like, I mean, the hip hop world was about competition a lot, especially at the time in general. But I wonder if it was more like aggressive in Hawaii compared to others. Maybe, I don't know. Is this racist to say like there's like a fighting kind of spirit with local Hawaiian culture?
No, I mean, like it's kind of, it's in our DNA. I mean, Hawaiians, they're warriors. I mean, and so then there's always going to be some type of, on a small island, you put a bunch of alpha males on it, and it's just gonna do what it does. But like as far as the music scene, with the music that we were doing, there was a lot of love because we were like borderline. We're about that. But then there were some times when there were other. I always respected what the other cats were doing. Battle rappers, street rappers and stuff. And I respected everything they did because I didn't do it.
You never did the battles?
I did a couple battles, and then like who did I lose to? Well, it was weird because they paired me up with Omega 6 first, and I'm like, yeah, I'm dead. This is awesome.
Yeah,
but then like I think he did me a solid and he didn't show up. Like he was there. I know he was there because we were hanging out. And then when he heard that it was us, he was probably like, nah, I feel bad for him. So I think he probably bounced. Yeah, I think he just kind of chilled back and waited. So I ended up doing an impromptu battle with Big T's, who was like a radio disc jockey and stuff during that time. Did a lot of like, club rap. But then that night there was some, style profiling, and it did get pretty, they get pretty heated. But then at the end of the day, we're able to, just move on. If anything, it was more show as far as the battle. Because at the end of the day, if you're Hawaiian, you're probably related.
Yeah.
You can only, if you think about it, you can only fit like 15 people on the canoe. Right. So like, we're probably all related, dude. So I never tried to start really big beefs and stuff, but that's just kind of who I am.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there was the other dynamic, of course, of being a white kid in Hawaii doing rap that was especially countercultural, like just trying to be as weird as possible. And, of course, the history of colonization there, for good reason, people are going to be upset with white people coming in and trying to change the culture or whatever. Like you're obviously going to run into issues there. So that's a whole other dynamic that you, not being white, didn't have to deal with.
Right. I mean, like people were pretty proud.
But you had Wembley. What did Wembley run into shit?
Oh like no, Wembley. Wembley's an all-star.
Yeah,
he's just one of those guys that, damn, he's cool. Just hang out with him, you know. So then, but I do remember one night I think you came out and we did a show at the Wave, Wave Waikiki. And I remember, I think that was the first time I met you. You were sitting outside and you were waiting. And I think I went up to you and I was like, hey, dude, and there was a dress code that night and you played in a bee costume. and I remember this, and we've played at that club a lot of times. So the bouncer came to me. It's like, is this guy okay is this guy cool? Because like, he's not, he's wearing a bee costume and we have a dress code. I might have to ask him to leave. I was like, dude, he's killing it. Just let him go. Dude, this is amazing. Like, of course he has a bee costume on. It's like, this is awesome. But I remember that night was one of the first times your production style is something else. I've always appreciated it because I think we see music the same. We have a hard time repeating ourselves a lot, and structure is boring to us. I can do structure just to do this, but then those are like usually really easy tracks to do, when you play, it's just like, all right, hook 16, and then nowadays there's no third verses. So, it's like, and they call it good, so, but, your production always stuck out to me because the sounds that you use and just the way that, how strict you are with with how you like your music. It's very respectable, and you can definitely hear it in what you do, because it's like I don't have a problem giving you free reign to do whatever you want with my vocals. It's like, go for it, dude. I know you're gonna do something amazing. Like, it's not like that with everybody. I mean,
well, it's funny because back in those days, like I listen back to that stuff, my beats from that era, and I don't like it for the most part, but I did stick out, I think partially because I was trained professionally at an engineering school right before that, and taught to like be very like careful about cutting out noise and making everything as clean and as possible, which was like really counter to the aesthetic of a lot of hip hop at that time, and to a detrimental degree. I think I was like all about trying to make it as clean as possible. At least I stuck out. At least I was different.
No, I remember Zombie King. No, I remember listening to that. And it's like, how are they making their stuff sound so? These guys are recording in a studio. It's got to be, it was just like, but it sounds huge. But no, like I always respected your ear. And
all right, thank you. Enough about me. But let's. I want to keep talking about of proletariats and proletariats. But before we go there, I want to like hop back on this thread of the kind of lineage of influences, and Omega 6 sounds like he was a pretty major one for you, right?
Right.
Do you know, like, maybe this is a better question to ask Omega 6, but do you know, like, who he was influenced by as far as the fast melodic rapping? Do you think that was a Bone Thugs, or was that more of a Freestyle Fellowship thing? Or
if I were to guess, I mean, it's definitely a question for Omega, but if I were to guess, I would say it was more Freestyle Fellowship.
Yeah. And drum and bass definitely was a big influence on him too, I think, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I mean, he got me into that too. And that was fun because I was able to, learn different patterns, and, the drum and bass, the structures of the songs, it's a lot different. It's different. A lot of it was just like a continuously moving thing. It taught me how to write to stuff that wasn't going to sound the same, a minute down the line, and to keep evolving and finding patterns and finding ways to make it work musically instead of forcing vocals on the track.
Were you into like speed metal or death metal, like with the super fast drums early on, or was that more of a later thing with what was that band?
That was more of a later thing. Yeah, that was.
What was that band called that you were in?
Somatoform.
Yeah, that was fucking crazy.
That was fun, dude. I wish we did. We have a few recordings out there, but I don't know where they are. I lost it all during moves.
I'm gonna say it would be cool if you all were able to like cobble any of those old recordings into like a newly remastered digital release. I think
that would be really cool. I always wanted Wormhole to be a part of that. him and the bassist ended up creating a group called George and the Duck Shaker.
Oh yeah.
And then they produced some tracks for like Chesky and.
Weren't you and George and the Duck Shaker too?
Yes, I did. I did a couple of tracks with them, but then it was mostly those two guys.
Okay.
You know, they were the Duck Shakers, and
that was a wild project too. Jesus.
And the chance the story now is all about the writing. So prepare the next to come sprightly for the moment that is like the father the dream of the yore. Wash me away, it was in a mind that I blew into this shit. Woke up the market, anything that
This is what I'm saying, like this Oahu scene especially, like to me, that was like some of the most inventive hip hop music ever. Like I think some of the most interesting, crazy shit was coming out of Oahu. And I mean, do you agree? And like, what do you think accounts for that? Like, how did you guys get so weird?
I don't know. We just take stuff and run with it, you know, because all of us, you know, being on a small island, you want to try to stick out as much as possible, you know, so then you're constantly bending and breaking shit and trying to put it back together and make it yours, you know, and I mean, a lot of the things about Hawaii is interesting, even like the art style, you know, like there's just a lot of flair and in the things that they do.
Flowers.
Flares, flowers, and just a whole bunch of stuff. But it's just it's weird. You know, not to go there, but like the energy out there is a lot. It's very creative. And I think a lot of it is that everybody supports each other out there, because if one of us makes it, the whole island made it, you know? So everybody supported each other out there. So you didn't really have to you had a lot of space to just create and be you and not second guess what you were doing. It was easy to do that out there. And a lot of us just take that and run with it, you know?
Yeah. I could kind of compare it to like the way that the tropics in general are so fertile that like when like a cricket accidentally makes it over aboard a ship or something, like a bird shits a seed from a neighboring land or whatever, it all just like grows and cross-pollinates, and there's all this kind of fusion in nature that like is crazy. Like the fruit, there are like fruits in Hawaii that no one has ever heard of off the islands. Like what were they like? There's like bananas crossed with guavas, like guava bananas that are shaped like a banana, and then you peel it and it's like a guava inside or whatever, or like a passion fruit. So like I kind of like think a lot of the music was like that. Like there's these crazy blends of fusions of genres, you know. That
I mean, absolutely. I mean, you know, I think what you said was beautiful. I mean, that's a lot of, you know, what happens out there, because it's its own little world. You know, it is kind of detached. Well, during that time, it was very detached from what was going on. I'm sure it's a lot different now, but it was, no, I like what you said. That was nice.
So we've talked a little bit about Of Proletariats, and this is obviously a better question for John Tsunam, aka Johnny Tsunami, who started Proletariats, the larger collective. But since he's like completely secluded himself off the map, I don't think he's like online at all anymore. I don't know. I've tried my damnedest to get in touch with this guy. So in his absence, can you talk about like what was Proletariats, how'd that come together, and who were some of the, you know, members, and how'd that work?
It actually it started up as a tape trading circle. Yeah, I went to Two Grooves one day and I saw a flyer sitting there for someone named Morty Minison, and he had a list of some of the tapes that he had, you know, and it was like second generation, this with that, and it's like email me for the complete list. And I was into tape trading back then. So then I saw that flyer and I was like, okay, I'm gonna hit this Morty Minison up. Well, Morty Minison ended up being Johnson. We met up on a tape trade at Pearl Ridge, I think. Okay. We met up to trade some tapes, and we started talking, and
What'd you trade? Do you remember?
Oh man, I don't know. I'm sure everybody was trading the elusive first generation dub of Log Cabin.
Yeah.
But but like we were, I don't remember. It was like a backpack full of tapes. I mean, we both had stuff that we wanted from each other, and it was just like, wow, we're about to double up here.
Nice.
So then we met up and we got along, and we're both still in high school during that time. And then we started just joked about doing music, and because he asked if I wrote, and I was like, yeah, I write, because back then I was more a writer than, I never thought I would be do vocals in any way. I was into writing. I was like a beat poet nerd, art nerd, and then I was into just writing like surrealist, poems and little pieces like that. And when I figured that thing out with changing the music notes to syllables, I found out, I can turn all this weird stuff I'm writing into rap songs and make it work without, rhyming it, and just stuff like that. But so we met up and we hung out, and it was just him and I for a little bit. And he was really into the internet, and he actually, one of the first people that we met up with was Zach Ostrowski, who is now Beverly Fresh. He's one of the original Proletariat members.
Yeah,
he was part of it. We used to do stuff as Prologo Purgatory back then.
You used to be part of that?
Yeah, I actually I found one of the first tapes that we did with one of my first verses on it.
Bounce me off a wall. Paintball art of a man. Imprinting a right hand, showing the evidence of the usage of a left brain. A person with invisible tattoos plastered against my imaginary skin. Practice my exercise with thumb twiddling. Independent male model in an urban hip hop magazine. Believing what he says to himself. Being both of the bottle single project he did with about 20 loyal customers. But the thought of being purchased by consuming a lift his ego amongst a giant mosquitoes of the rainforest who wanted a way into one city.
But John basically found Beverly or Zach through the internet.
Correct, through Superior
message
Belly.
Boards or
probably yeah. A lot of it was probably through the Anacon forum. The people we met on the Anacon, we became friends on them on AOL chat, on AIM chat, and then that's when everything started spreading. I mean, that's how I met Aloe 8. And then through Aloe 8, I just met a world of I met the rest of the world because he just knew everybody, Chesky and.
But Aloe 8 was in Oahu too, right?
No, he was in Alameda. He was in California.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but then he was really in tune to the what was going on in Hawaii, because there was also another tape trader, a legendary tape trader out there named Anasarka Lauren.
I remember that name.
I was able to meet a lot of people through her as well. But all of this started through tape trading. And then John Sunam already knew Wembley Small Fry. So then there was actually another member of the Proletariats. His name was Tyson. We called him Elephantasia. And he went off to the military. We're doing a lot of, just wrote stupid tracks like with titles like Corn Flakes on the Grass, and, just this really weird stuff. And then after High Fences happened, we started focusing. It was like, okay, well, people are like our serious stuff, so let's start making real tracks. So then we started recording the Proletariats album, where we started drafting what we wanted to do for the Proletariats album. And when he came back from the military, he's like, "Oh, dude, this is too serious for me. I don't want to. This is. I'll support you guys, but this is kind of much." So then he pulled out. But then it just took off. I mean, so Wembley Small Fry, we invited him to jump on a track, and then we're like, he needs to be part of the group too. So then So then John Sanam invited him, and then like Sanam just went wild and just went online and just started promoting and reaching out. And
like when I found it, there was like at least like 20 people listed under the artists on the Proletariat's website. That included like the Plague Language guys, Noah 23, Barracuda.
Even Chesky was affiliated. He was on multiple tracks with us. And it just turned into this whole thing. And then even Nocturne brought in a few people as well when he came aboard. He originally started with just submitting beats, and then we heard him, and then he started sending vocal stuff too. It's like, oh, it's Nocturne, like he leveled us out, because his raps were more paced and straightforward. I mean, it was a lot of the stuff that he wrote was amazing too. His lyrics were amazing, but it balanced us out because like Wembley, Sanam, and I, we would speed it up here and there, or just continuously keep going.
So when you were starting to record what became the Of Proletariats album, it was actually going to be just a Proletariats album. Is that correct?
Correct. It was going to be, and then like...
So you're like, oh, we can't call it Proletariats anymore because it's mostly just us 4 or 5 people, right? So then the Of was added to.
Yeah, we just added the Of in there. Yeah, it's like, that'll work. Because we couldn't think of another name, but, it worked out.
Beyond the set border.
Then we go to the beginnings into dominated by the digital blast of hatred. Killers undefeated and it is like a trigger to man-made destruction. Think that bam! Curse the war of 13 stripes. Run every eagles, pinning up in those collapse from one musket. Up the down flags, whipping off no fence when I say let it burn.
Catapults come from fresh rocks to rook. Break the still, so shake the gates, quake bows. Flood the air, send flints and flares, horsemen. Impale the weak, then flank the ranks, retreat.
Everything just happened so fast, and it started taking off for us, and we all just went in.
Yeah, and then like all of a sudden you all are performing as like openers or like supporting acts for some of your rap heroes that would come tour the islands, right? You're playing with like probably like Sage Francis,
Anacon,
Mystic Journeyman,
Idea, Living Legends. Yeah, Boac. Just anyone and everyone that came through. The Weather, Bus Driver, and Radio Inactive, and that was a cool night too. I'm going to stop the name dropping, but I met a lot of people, and all it did was help me out in the long run. I didn't realize that they would like it too and take it back and co-sign us where they were from, and that's how a lot of the proletariat spread was, a lot of these people going back to work, going back home, and it's like, oh yeah, I met these guys are cool.
You and I have been discussing the idea of making the Of Proletariats album, which was called Blue Collar Blues, available again online because it's more or less vanished. I think there's like a rip of it on YouTube, but besides that, it doesn't exist anymore. You guys made a bunch of CDs back in the days. That was the main way that it was distributed, right? By CD.
Yes.
I even helped resell some of your CDs from my website at the time.
Yes.
But, we've been talking about maybe making it more widely available. One of the problems we've run into is that I guess Nocturne, I've been able to contact Nocturne, but all the other members are just like, for whatever reason, like, not really online and not responsive. I've always found you guys generally kind of mysterious and difficult to reach, but at this point, it seems like everyone besides you's gone completely underground and apparently musically inactive. But we're talking about, maybe we're going to release this album anyway for free and take it down if anyone complains. You think that's a good plan?
Yeah, I think it's a great plan. Actually, Aloe was able to reach. He was able to find John Sanam. I think nobody has a problem. I know Wembley, he doesn't have a problem with it. Ideally, I would love to get a 4-track and bounce all the tracks out for you to remaster it.
Yeah, we should make that a goal. Like, okay, this year I believe is the 20th anniversary of this thing, right?
Yes.
So, like, I think it would be, it would make sense for us to just release it this year, do like a quick remaster maybe, and like put it out there, and then have as a goal, like maybe even like start a fund maybe to get the 4-track recordings mixed properly and remastered. And you said there's even some like tracks that have never been released that could be possibly good bonus tracks.
No, there's a ton of stuff.
Yeah, I think that would be a good goal. So maybe this will be the announcement. Maybe by the time this episode is out, we will have the Blue Collar Blues album online for people.
That would be wild.
Weirdrap.bandcamp.com.
Yeah, weird.
Go see if it's there. Maybe it'll be there.
Nice.
You know, one other character I got to talk about with you from Hawaii, from that era, is
Golden
Damoon.
Sun. Oh, Golden Child.
Golden Child.
Golden Child.
What's up, Golden Child?
What's up, buddy? Light cheat till the day I die.
Yeah, I bet he's still freestyling. Like, he might be rapping right now. That guy would never stop rapping, but he was great. No, but Damoon. Let's talk about Damoon, because I feel like he was and remains one of Hawaii's best kept secrets. And
yes.
I just want to know, like how would you describe Damoon?
His vocals stab. He has a stabbing vocal. It's just like, there's the way I will give up. You know, it's just like boom. It's just like punchy and stabby. He's one of the first guys that kind of really intimidated me as far as like his style. I think it was the ADM show, and Orphan and I, we walked outside and we heard somebody rapping, and it was something I've never heard before. And then I see him going vicious outside, just rapping. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? You know, like, and he was like one of the first guys out there that I was like, oh, this guy is an animal.
Disguised by strong addictions to our fix, but that we would die divided as you set fit. On that our system and the twisting contests are those that spirits kiss. Physical mechanical desire, souls miss. Why do you neglect this? Faces only bring necessities admitted. We all know our castle plots of lethal crops of distraught mess of jars of big gods being sun now made to oxen and stop work and stop so it's chaos. And we survive cortical style, will ever stop. For God fill doors of potential, but does fall against sprawled out and flawed. The squashed in a cubicle for efficient recoil. Doesn't mean what we dream hasn't truly been. We're not together via mental systems independent from gas gems. They just pure morning distinctively agree with the brain. You can trick me, the trick make the dream. This depends on who sets it.
I got intimidated by him. I'm not gonna lie, because it was something I've never heard before. You know, like I feel like a lot of his he articulates a lot of his words with the back of his throat or something. Something goes on. It was something I've never heard before. And then just him being wild and crazy and screaming and just doing and the production style that he chooses, you know, it just creates like this weird, crazy mechanical beast thing that just sounds like vicious. I'll do anything to convince him to come back. To be honest, I need some Damoon in my life. Honestly, he's hands down. I mean, he's my favorite vocalist from the islands. He always was. It's just wild.
He's something special.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that he would do that I would actually say, damn, I wish I did that. Yeah, you take everything great about the Hawaii hip hop scene, about, you know, the crazy abstract side of it, and you put it in a person, and it's a freaking Damoon album. There's just zero limits with that guy.
I'm working on getting him to let me re-release his debut album, Crossbreeding and Grafting, which is really his only proper solo album when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
I guess he got turned off to being part of the music industry by his last experience with like getting fucked over financially by his musical ventures.
Oh.
But
that's always, you know, that's always tough when you get fucked over by something you love. You know, and it's just like, man, I'm not going to touch this anymore.
Well, you'll be excited to hear this, Aaron, because I got new Damoon vocals last month for the Weird Rap collab album, which you're on as well. This album is going to be something special. I've been adding people left and right. I just got a message from Big Just today that he's got his vocals written and he's working on perfecting them. The Weird Rap album, just putting that out there. That's coming.
I am excited for that.
Yeah, me too.
The song we did for that was pretty amazing too. I love it.
I love it too.
So I'm excited. I'm excited to hear about that because honestly, he's We actually we did a song together and nothing ever came of it.
Yeah, America.
Yeah, America. I mean, I still have my vocals for that, but I never got his, so I couldn't give that to you and be like, dude, do something with it. You know, but
come on, Andrew, you should finish that song. All right. We should also mention Wormhole. Oh, we did mention Wormhole, but we'll shout out Wormhole and the New Cocoon Collective because they seem like the kind of the last semblance that I can gather of that kind of experimental rap scene in Hawaii, which seemed to dissolve for the most part around like 2005 or so. I mean, what do you think accounts for this? Like, it seemed I left around that time too, so I don't know for sure. But like, I scoured the internet every once in a while to see like whatever happened to the Hawaiian local rap scene on Oahu and etc. And it just doesn't seem to have lived on too much.
Yeah, it kind of moved on to something else, you know, because I can't find them. I mean, there's like Abomination, producer, you know, and then you still have the direct descendant cats that are preserving their sound too. But as far as like really weird, new, like crazy sounding stuff, I can't find anything else out there.
I mean, the thing is, partially John Sunam was so like online. I guess that was a big part of how you all had that synergy.
Yes.
When Proletariats kind of dissolved and John Sunam left the island, that was all around 05, 06 or what?
Yeah. I left in 2003, I think.
Okay.
That's when I left. I moved to Kansas. And then when I left, I was pretty much out of everything for a bit.
Didn't you immediately just make 6 children or something? And you
yeah, man, pretty much. Like I ended up marrying a girl that already had 4 kids, you know, and I raised those kids like they're my own. The girls are triplets. They were 1 when I was part of their life, and then my son was 4. But no, and that's where my focus went, you know, for nearly 15 years. I was still doing a little bit here and there, like I did that album with Ovate, the Tree Dusk Mirror presents Ogre Ephemeris.
Ego dripping over the basics. When at most is the least, the ones accomplishments that need to be played with styles for men to utterly tangle according to grain. It's that fake lip that keeps flapping under the gust of views when trees mistaken perceive this fucking the view of the end. Near to understand and build hydraulics that decline reception. Knowledge solid like cement, weighted down by confined lessons. Hostile of a second recession. Insistence begging, skeptics soon to bring us on request. Block crews corrupted by bile.
I was able to do that while all that was doing that, but it was really hard. I was using it more as an escape than, not really an escape, but as a creative, you know, me time thing.
Yeah, we should mention during those years you also put out the Ruler of Desperate Measures album, and then the Everything Except 3. That was another album, or what? Were you call these albums or collections of single tracks? Or
I'll call Ruler of Desperate Measure an album. I mean, it doesn't flow like an album, but I would call it an album. Because that was the intention behind each track, was to have it be part of, you know, an album. On Everything Except 3, which basically means like the track is either unmastered or unmixed, right? Or incomplete, except for 3 of them. 3 of them were mastered. Okay. You know, so then like On Everything Except 3 was it was something that I put together for myself in the car to listen to my own stuff if I was driving around. And I was like, you know, just featured tracks and stuff. And I was like, I'll just post this too. Why not?
Really great stuff on those, though. I'll recommend. They're both still available online, right?
I don't know about on Everything. I know Ruler of Desperate Measures is actually, there's been some. It's weird, man. People still buy that album. I don't get it. Like even. In the last couple of months, the sales for that has been picking up too.
Nice. Well, they should be, because it stands as a real unique, special collection of music. Even 10 years later, when did you release those?
2009. Okay. Was Ruler of Desperate Measures.
13 years.
Yeah.
So I always wondered what On Everything Except 3 meant, and now you've told me. And what would you say the Ruler of Desperate Measures title is referring to?
for some reason, I always come back to music when I'm in like a dark time, you know? So then like, I was going through some things during that time, and I was in a tough spot. You know, it was pretty dark and bleak, and I was pretty desperate for, you know, just for everything, all those feelings to go away, you know? So then I went into music, and I did all these tracks and stuff. I mean, even now, you know, like even Estuary, I find myself going into music during, and that's why like a lot of the StapleMouth stuff is just really, it's really dark, and yeah, it's heavy. It comes from this really messed up place. Yeah, that Ruler Desperate Measures was during another dark time of my life, and and then just doing the play like it was like a 12-inch ruler and measurements, you know. So there's the ruler measurement play to a ruler of desperate measures, and then there's like, you know, the ruler of desperate measures, you know. So nice. Then it was just a little play off of that.
I never even put that together, but that's awesome to know. You briefly mentioned Tree Dusk Muir, and I would say that's especially a dark, grimy, moody, kind of rough and rugged project that I've always really enjoyed. Can you talk a little bit about Tree Dusk Muir, who comprised that group? And
you know, when I wasn't doing music, when I stopped doing music, I was kind of out of the scene, and I was being fed stuff by like people that I kept in touch with in music. You know, one of them being Wormhole, and he was like, "Hey, I've been working with these guys." Tubes, Ovate, and Result, and you really should check them out, you know. So then I did, and it was something else. It was just dark, dirty, you know. It was, and I loved it.
Resurrected depths, departmentized, hardened, but leading change will replenish the continents. TREEDUSKMUIR, mutilated skin war, descend the layer to cold, soil sponging, casualties arrive, mice and me, withdrawing imperative plasma, release a burst lower knees, broke weight, heavy water, patience for tilt, wet ridges, moving through the overlay, buried shallow, sagging bondage.
You know, on the dark side of things, we were able to relate. You know, it was a good way for me to, it was a good place for me to do that type of stuff, you know, like a great outlet, you know, like it made it possible for me to do it since they were already doing it. Instead of me trying to start something on my own and say, okay, all I want is dark production and want it to sound like this. It was already built for me. And it was like, okay, cool. I'm just going to jump in here and be a part of this too. And then even like the writing styles between it, you know, like the Tree Dusk stuff is a little more morbid visually as far as the lyrics, you know, and I get tired of doing the same thing over and over again, you know, so then that's why I have to spread out and do different sounding stuff just to keep me interested, especially now that I have like a bunch of time to do music, that if I keep working on the same thing over and over again, I'm just going to get bored, and then I'm not going to want to do it.
Yeah.
So Tree Dusk is a great collective for me to just to keep it dark and more visual as far as what I'm writing.
Yeah, it always has reminded me of like rapping goblins or like cave dwelling trolls or something.
Freaking gargoyles or something.
Covered in dirt and muck.
Well, I mean, it's you know, I actually learned a lot working with them, you know, because when doing it, Ovate was like, hey, I want to hear you do more slower stuff. You know, let's slow it down for you on your Tree Dusk stuff, you know, and pace it out. And I was like, oh, all right. Yeah. You know, and I went with it, and I learned a lot from it.
Yeah. So now in recent years, you have become a lot more active. So what would you say accounts for your like renewed energy and musical output? And also, like, take us through some of your other projects, like Three Suns Eclipse, and what you've been doing with Carmine Moth and Cane Corso.
Well, in 2019, you know, the world did its thing. It, you know, life does that thing where it kind of grabs your fucking world and shake the shit out of it, and then like fucking sits there and watches you and sees how you respond, and where you settle and stuff, and that happened to me in 2019. I found myself having, dealing with an empty nest and having a bunch of free time on my hands. And, at first I didn't know if I was even going to get back into music. But one night I was like, you know what, I'm just going to activate my Facebook again. So when I went to do that, I found out my account was completely nuked, So then there was like no account. So I had to start a new account from scratch, which was pretty awesome because I ended up adding a whole bunch of people. I was forced to add people to get it going. And then, Chesky was one of the first people to ever message me when I came back. Was like, dude, and he was like, what's going on? And caught up a little bit. And then but then it was Aloe8. He was another one of the first guys who reached out. And he was like, dude, get back into music. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. I think it's a good time for you to get back in. I think people are really into the style of music that you do, so it might work out. So, I just went with it. So then we started, I found myself in Cane Corso. That's where Aloe8 led me to get started again. And then that's where, met Carmine Moth and all the Cane Corso cats, you have Luca and you have crazy dudes. And you have just crazy dudes. And I was like, oh wow, yeah, okay, yeah, we still exist, And one of the guy that Nameless missed, he was pulled in probably maybe a week or so before I was. So then when I was pulled in, we started talking, and it was like, hey, this is, he's one of those rare kids, he's 25, 26, but he grew up listening to all of our stuff, so then he was like, well, I've listened to your stuff. Let's do something. And I listened to his stuff. It's like, dude, your lyrics are crazy. Your pen you swing swords. So we started the Three Suns Eclipse album.
An assaulting pattern of barbarian tunes dissolved in blathers beneath the wretched moon as Apollo gathers above his arrows bloom. Dead tree withers, fingers empty firmaments. A whisper speaks of visions to shift inertia's turbulence. I drip further into the brink of impermanence. The blink of an arc herder shepherds worlds then circumvents.
Hover down the steps, cross-legged and depressed. Summon into creature from the fiery abyss. Chanting in the fire barbers flicker in the wind as we forge to the light. That plot of deep into that, flagging off the head so the puppets to the night. Honor in the torso to the mind, ego death. See the not whimpers at the spirit from lips.
But during that time as well, I started doing something else with Seventh Galaxy. He's such a cool, he's super talented. I mean, he plays a lot of the instruments on Mycelium Culture, which is Seventh Galaxy and myself. And I even but my writing style for that, I actually decided to change my name for that project to Kill Wendigo.
What's that mean?
Kill Wendigo. Like, if you see him, kill him. It's a statement. It's a call to action. Kill Wendigo.
Who's Wendigo?
No, it's like this goat demon thing. It's a goat. It's this crazy goat.
Is this
demon
something
thing
I can look up online, or did
yeah, dude? It's this cryptid up north, and the only way to one of the ways of killing it is by fire. And I felt like that was what I was going through at the time. So then I call myself Kill Wendigo, and it's me, I do a lot of outdoor stuff as far as mostly, I mean, not outdoor stuff, but I hike a lot. I'm a nature dude. So it was a way for me to rap about, hiking, the stuff I like to do, and kind of be more of who I am.
Pushing through the barriers, excited, had a loss as fuck. Combing through the desert, searching empty till my soul is fucked. Reveal the rock, the candy, raise the ante-voting, call the bluff. Raking in the pennies, undervalued gold and silver thought. Hammer to the piggy bank, crushing my investments. Coding in our copper cage, projected to the senseless. Theater of phantom performers dancing behind the curtains. All against the ghost of applauding, unheard but breaking silence. Static face the meter, popping snaps when the smile cracks. Rogues amongst the leeches, though they blood just to steal it back. Kneeling at the water's edge, watching the movie get my emotions. Buoyant and lifeless, calm in a turbulent ocean.
Honestly, I don't know where StapleMouth comes from. It's always been that way. a lot of the time I'd write a song and I'll step back and look at it and I was like, what the hell is this?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how did this all happen?
Yeah.
Where Kill Wendigo, it could just be a lot looser. And Staples is really technical. He had a lot of rules in the past where like I couldn't repeat words, and that's why I didn't do hooks, and I couldn't, or even
you weren't allowed to repeat words in the same verse. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, in the same verse, and I did my best to not repeat the same word on the same album too.
What are some of the other rules?
Breaths. Had to do the main vocals in one take, and that was more for like performance purposes too, to make sure I can do it live.
Right.
Couldn't use motherfucker to chop. You couldn't use like into the and just cheat words like that to chop. So then like I had to make sure that I made it work in the middle of a 6-syllable word or something, and that's why like the vocabulary and stuff was a lot different back then too, because I was following all these rules that I made for myself, and it was just me being like overly critical, and I think that's where we had that that music part in common, because I feel like you do the same thing in your production as well. I can't, there's nothing that really repeats itself at all. Like there's either a major change or a subtle change, but you can hear it and feel it when it happens. Because back then, I was wanting to be something. I wanted to stick out and all of that. Where right now I'm having fun. I'm enjoying it. And I'm creating a lot of like tracks that I really like because of it. It's not a starving artist thing. I'm just having fun now.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's cover Estuary real quick. This is the album that I produced. It's coming out on Weird Rap this month. I'm pretty thrilled with it. I think we both put a lot of energy into it. But as intimately as I've been involved with this album, I've literally like formatted and proofread every lyric on the thing. But I'm still kind of confused about what a lot of it means. It's definitely, it's a project that the listener can ponder and contemplate, I think, which is cool. But if you can enlighten me and our audience, what can you tell us about the general theme of this album?
Ultimately, we all have different lives, like the person that I was as a father, the person that I am at work is, there's still that baseline person, but it's completely different. It's completely different from like, who I am outside of all of that. And on the creative side of things, people don't expect, they know me and then they're like, oh, you do music, and they listen to the song. It's like, dude, I wasn't expecting that from you.
Right. They think you're going to be singing about sunshine and sipping soda.
Yeah, they think I'm going to be, talking about, drinking high C pouches on a beach, out of like a coconut chair. But for me, it's like, taking all of that and having that baseline, and my professional life, I'm fairly successful, and applying that mentality to the music side of things, and just really taking a lot of the logic and creative hemispheres and kind of creating something out of it, and being that middle person and trying to be static in that person the whole time. I mean, like who I was as a father, the lover and provider, and the artist and the creative side, and, and just going off the wall with stuff. And just like one side is taming the other and the other side is complementing the other. And that's ultimately what I'm trying to express here. And it's explaining, what I had and what I lost and what I'm moving towards and who I'm becoming because of it, and what I'm holding on to and what I'm letting go.
Yeah.
But the kids love it. The kids love it.
Right. But one song that really gave me visual images when I was working on it, Wounded Soldier. When I was working the beat around your vocals, that track really kind of affected me, and it feels very profound, even though I don't know exactly what you're talking about on it. So I'm wondering if you can discuss at all, like, what that track is about, what inspired the song, and what you're talking about.
Wow. Wounded Soldier is it's basically about, people playing dead. They're playing dead because they don't want to face what's going on in their life, and they ask for things that they really don't want by saying that they don't want it.
I'm playing Wounded Soldier, so please just pass me by. It's not my war, so sorry. The blood spilled isn't mine.
It's easy just to sit there and feel sorry for yourself and to be a wounded soldier and not taking responsibility for everything that put you in that position. I mean, ultimately, we're all responsible for everything that we go through to some way or form, and it's playing dead, so you don't have to face the things that life's throwing at you because you're asking for it. It's like, here, toss this shit at me. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm just gonna thank you. Now I can feel sorry for myself and use this sad energy to create music, and transmute stuff. But it's about it's not what you want, that's what you get. And what are you going to do with it? Are you going to fight your way through it, or are you just going to, ultimately you're a soldier, so you're trained to face it and conquer it. But, greatest enemy is yourself. So you can just sit back and say, that blood spill's not mine, dude. It's not my fault.
I don't remember if it was the imagery that came to me first or the decision to add like thunder and rain sounds to the song, but like the image was like this soldier lying in the muck as it's raining, pretending to be dead, and someone else is like kind of marching past, the boots you see stomping past. Do you think that the rain plays any role in this song, or is that just...
It really does. Because through the whole album in general, all the sounds that were collected for the entire theme of the album, it all fits so well.
There's a lot of water in the album.
Yeah, it's a lot of water. Spoiler alert. But being a wounded soldier is not a good time. It feels like the world is just it feels like there's a constant storm cloud over you. You pulled a lot more out of me in this project just off of your soundscapes. And you really tied it up, and you did an amazing job.
Blah, blah,
and I'm
blah.
talking about you, but I'm just saying.
The storm could also represent like a war is, often referred to as a storm, the storm that you're trying not to be part of or whatever.
Right.
But it's still raining on you anyway.
Yeah. You're going to experience it no matter what. So what are you going to do? You're going to do, do something about it. Get out.
So we end the album with Let Go. And this one seems like you're getting pretty vulnerable and talking about your divorce, as far as I could tell, although it also has some like mysterious symbology and abstraction that I don't understand. But what can you tell us about writing this track, and what do you think makes it a good way to end the album?
Ultimately, we just got to let go of everything, whether it's good and bad. It's the first step of really coming into yourself and really learning from what you went through is, acknowledging it, letting it go. If you can go through it and process it and really learn from it and heal yourself from it, then, that's the ultimate goal. I think I'm a completely different person from who I was in that marriage, and I like who I am and who I'm becoming now, and it couldn't happen without letting it go. It's the only way. Other than that, it'll forever be a block, in your life, and it'll probably be a reoccurring thing that happens over and over again, and it's gonna haunt you. It's gonna be there.
Standing firm in whatever temper tantrums, I thought you shiver with the cold. Truth that to seek the remedies of my youth, which I consider to be my home. It's leaking fire from heaven, she's trying to cover her face. And the blood they sweat, debris and soul, but up in a bloody tidal pool. I fell a little bit deeper into a coma, my own with my eyes. No memory seeping out of the cracks that decor my skull. Saving the leaking breath, the venom of fame, channel through all of us. What if I put the good of the bloodline into the creature you fucking hate to trust?
I think about it too as like surrender, like the act of surrendering sometimes is what can save you. Like obviously the ocean plays a big role in this album, and I think about how I almost drowned in Hawaii.
We've all almost drowned in Hawaii.
Right. You get held under the waves, but what I learned later is when that happens,
you just let it do
when you get held under by the wave, you just have to like go loose and wait to be thrown back up to the top. Or if you struggle, that's the way you drown. Right?
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you just got to go with it, but at the same time, learn from it and acknowledge it. And a lot of it is like, even, it's forgiving yourself too. But yeah, ultimately it's just truly purging and making way for something new to happen and to grow.
Me and StapleMouth had a lot more to talk about, which you can hear in our bonus episode. We discuss his early influences and a lot of behind-the-scenes intrigue. Plus, StapleMouth has been kind enough to give us 22 tracks of rare or unreleased music. A bunch of collaborations featuring Noah 23, Chesky, Damoon, and many more. You can get that in addition to some extra time with Elucid and all of our past bonus episodes for a mere $3 at patreon.com/weirdrap.
We interrupt this program.
Sage Francis from Strange Famous Records here. Our label's mostly recently been about mopes, previously known as Prolific, rapping with and producing albums for Black Lick, Jesse the Trees, doing one with Trademark. The end of the year is going to see the debut album by Jesse the Tree called Pigeon Man. Black Lick's follow-up album is called Choice is a Chance. Expect that soon. We've also got material coming from C's Mikes, Jiving Scientist, Cass One, Alexander Brown, Swell from the Meter Maze. They're all weirdos, okay? There's a few projects I'm trying to wrap up, including one produced by Buck65. But with this being the 20th anniversary of Personal Journals, be on the lookout for special edition vinyl and some incredibly unique and limited items that we've never done before. Check out strangefamous.com. These are the days of our lives. This is our life. Premier independent hip-hop. And we always hook up the customers with extra goodies because we're so hyped for the goddamn support. Peace to the people at Weird Rap for finally allowing me to go commercial. Strange Famous.
That was an advertisement. If you do something Weird Rap related, you can also buy ad space for the ridiculously low price of $75 for a minute of airtime, which will last in perpetuity for as long as this podcast is available, which will be forever. You can message WeirdRap3000 at gmail.com to discuss that or whatever else you'd like to discuss. And now, a true Weird Rap hero, deservedly seeing his come up in the rap world along with Billy Woods and their duo Arm & Hammer. This is Elucid.
My parents had a crazy vinyl collection, a crazy record collection. I remember 8 tracks and cassettes. My mom turned Christian sometime when I was a child, maybe I don't remember what age. But yeah, there was definitely a shift, and the gospel music was there. You know what I mean? Like Andre Crouch and shit, Commission, John P. Key, like all these gospel artists of like the early 90s. My uncle was a DJ, her brother. This is how I found rap. shit he would play, hanging out with his house. And he's actually like on the turntables, like cutting and scratching and shit. I'm like, a child. You know what I mean? You think about that shit, like we just think about like a DJ and it's just like hip hop, like context of like hip hop. But like now we're like fucking 30 years out. Like you have to look at that shit as like avant-garde experimental music techniques. Like that idea, like that's like anti-music. Like that shit should not be. And like I'm fascinated by this shit as a child. Like these sounds that should not be used as melodies, like, here they are. You know what I mean? Scratching, like that shit is. It's hard, you know? So yeah, this is like my childhood. It's like a musical part of my childhood, you know? So yeah, I love music for a long time. Just growing up, it's New York. It's rap. It's Video Music Box. It's like the Coliseum.
Yeah.
It's fucking just like crack. Supreme Team. Like all this shit. Like big Jeeps. Big systems playing all like the cool shit. You hear it rolling through the blocks. You know what I mean? Just yeah, this is a musical childhood here.
Circling to the center of a boiling core, iron and ore, plate shift, thoughts and form were forged. We heard about Haiti, came a mighty long way. How to raise a free black baby, to be the norm, not to be normalized. To be the norm, not to be normalized. Run like wind, rough side of the mountain, eyes blindfold. Took my time here, felt it all around, like years it seemed.
How did you relate to other kids as you were growing up? Like, what were your primary friendships like, and how do you think any of that is reflected in your artistic interests?
I don't really know. Growing up, like,
were you popular? Were you a weirdo? Were you somewhere in between?
I think it might have been somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Especially like as I got older, like towards like high school. But yeah, I guess in that era, you know, I had always played sports. So
yeah.
Like, yeah, I played football for like varsity football for 3 years. So in that way, I was like popular. I'm captain of the 14th senior year.
So you fit in to some degree.
Yeah, but I had already like, I think like music had really, and rap, like the writing of rap, like I just fell in love with it in a way that's just like, oh, I'm doing this now. You know what I mean? Like I'm rapping in the hallways and shit. I'm like rapping at lunch. I'm like headphones on at all times.
Yeah.
Like, so now I'm hanging out with like rap guys and like music guys, like kids that played in bands to an extension. There was like kids that played punk and punk bands, and like there was hardcore kind of kids, which I fucked with, and druggies. So we're like introducing to drugs and shit. You know what I mean? So, yeah, just kind of like jock, but like I had other shit going on as well that I was interested in.
You getting a wide spectrum of influences then.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if that ever really factored into the music, but
right.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's an abstract question of like, how do you think that relates to the way your music is integrated into the larger music community, which you definitely have been widely adopted within the, whatever you want to call it, alternative or underground hip hop music world, you know?
Yeah.
You haven't gone pop yet, but
that's the next one.
You're like as pop as you can get, I would say, in the underground weirdo rap world.
I've got a secret album with Rosalia. Y'all didn't know about it. I'm touching and go. I'm about to go on tour with Bad Bunny. No, but I did hear. I was thinking about that. Like, you know, like whatever people consider like selling out or whatever. Sure, we get it in this era. Like, you know, it's a personal choice, obviously, always been, but whatever. Rosalia, somebody played me something, and it's just like, it's super pop, like kind of like dembo beat, reggaeton, like, you know what I mean? And there were 2 songs. I thought that shit was really fucking cool. And it just reminded me of like old school rap and like the way like the vocals sound, the way that they were like produced and like the way shit was like chopped up. And it reminded me of like old school rap. But like I remember this one moment in the song where it was like like, you know, that's the beat, all the songs. And in the middle of like, I guess where a chorus should have been or whatever, it just breaks into like free jazz piano for like 30 seconds. Just like really wild, like it. And then the dembo beat just drops right back in. Like shit like that, like I would do that in my own, I do that in my own music. You know what I mean? These sort of like unexpected structure changes, snatch the rope from beneath you, then set it back. You know what I mean? That's considered like pop music these days. Like her shit is like extremely pop music, actually. And I was like, damn, I would fuck with the producer of this. This sounds pretty cool. You know what I mean? Would I be a sellout? I don't fucking know. I like a lot of different sounds and styles. So in terms of like sound, right? Like, I don't know if I could sell out. With the money, you know, if I started doing a fucking ad for Newports and Hennessy, then you know, maybe a more valid sellout thing. But if I'm just experimenting with like different styles, you can't sell out. I don't think you can sell out.
I mean, especially it seems like a concept of an older generation. Like my generation definitely was concerned with selling out in the 90s, especially. That was a big convo. But it seems like maybe younger kids are not even thinking in those terms.
Yeah, it's not even a conversation anymore.
Everyone's already on TikTok and Instagram, so they're like already corporate sponsored from childhood.
From the jump, you know. They talked about this time when I was a kid, man. They talked about this.
Right. 1984.
Guys literally screaming in the park. It's our reality in many ways. Yeah.
Besides, you know, artistic formative experiences, obviously there are non-artistic experiences that will shape and impact an artist. What would you say are some other kind of formative experiences throughout your life that really made you who you are, for better or worse?
Shit, man, that's a complicated question, and then not really. I just think about my life. I don't know, dude. I grew up in the church. I hated it. I rebelled against it. I went to school. I've been broke. I've had many fucking jobs. I'm a black man in America. And yeah, I've never sold crack. I'm not great I wasn't great selling weed.
What's your first traumatic experience that you could recall?
It's like, I don't know, man. There's a song on I Told Bessie. This may not be the earliest. No, this isn't the earliest. But I might have been 7 years old, maybe 6. The song is called Guy R. Brewer, which is a street that used to be New York Avenue in Queens, South Jamaica, Queens, where the church was on. So we're outside on the sidewalk. And, you know, that song just kind of describes it. Like the smell of doublemint gum and my mom's inside her leather, like, pocketbook, and, like, her giving me, like, a piece of candy, and, like, I'm choking on the candy. And I don't remember anyone, like, pounding my back or, like, giving me the Heimlich or anything. I just remember they just kind of, like, stood in a circle and prayed and shit.
I'm in the sky, in the circle outside, in the circle outside, some hands together. I'm in the sky, double in the love. I was choking on a churchman. Starlight, double in the love. I was choking on a churchman. Starlight.
I really don't remember passing out. I remember being sort of like there in one place and then I was in another place. You know, I was inside then I was outside. And I don't remember. I might have passed out. It's totally blank in the middle there.
Yeah.
You know?
What's the other one that you remembered that was earlier?
Oh. You're trying to get paid like my therapist.
I'm trying to get you to cry, man.
This guy's trying to get me to cry, man. Some tears out here.
Now
I cried last night.
I got plenty of other questions, man.
Yeah. I'm tired of crying.
Okay.
I've been crying for a month. Tired of crying.
Shit. All right. In your music, and some of like the visual elements on your new album cover, for example, I get this sense of almost like a snarling, growling, menacing sentiment. Sometimes it sounds like you're yelling at the listener. And obviously that's like a sort of rap yelling into the mic is a useful, impactful device. But I wonder, how do you think that might relate to your psyche? Because you seem like a calm, friendly guy in conversation, you know, but in your music, it seems like a kind of scarier persona comes out. Like you can especially hear it in like the Nostrum Grocers project with Rap Ferreira.
That's hilarious. You know why?
Because the contrast.
That's fucking hilarious. I know what you're saying, but that's hilarious because that album was recorded in 3 days at Willie Green's studio, and I had the craziest late summer allergic hay fever, fucking scratchy razor throat, fucking just like upper respiratory kind of like mucusy, like all that shit. Like, yeah. That's why it sounds, you know, extra spitty, extra raspy for that record. Is definitely
Sure.
Ask Rory. Like, yeah. That's, you know, and I loved it. I love the sound of it. I'm like, goddamn, like who that voice came out of, you know.
It's a cool contrast.
Yeah, but I guess also like it's interesting you say that because like if I listen to my old shit, yeah, I could definitely see that.
No more. I thought I told you before, baby, fucking with a different breed. Fine by myself, better with you. Complex man with very simple needs. You understand? I break it down further. You see my word to mean a thing to you. You say my dick to really stay to you. And what a shame, heartbreak. I guess it don't mean a thing to you. I'm blacking up, girl. I can't do it. Let me fucking brains let them be gone. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, rap. 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, rap.
But now I rap as quiet as I've ever rapped.
But there's still something scary about it.
But because it's also like my living conditions have changed. You know what I'm saying? Like
Sure.
the older things, a lot of that shit was recorded. You know, I had studio situations. People just like let me record in the studio. So it's whatever. And then it's about a vibe. You're just like rah, rah, rah with a lot of rum. And you know what I'm saying? Your friends are there. And it's just like extra. That's the environment.
Yeah.
It's created in.
And it's also just like a tradition, almost like the early Wu-Tang, especially. It's all yelling, growling.
Yeah, this is rap of my childhood. It's like your voice is an instrument. Yes. So why are you just talking all the time?
Yeah.
Why are you talking monotone the whole time? Like, you know? And yeah, that shit, you know, shouty rap, you know, lovers and haters. I like that sort of a thing, just like stretching a voice into many different sorts of ways, you know?
Yeah, I like it as well. And you've definitely, you know, you're singing more nowadays. You definitely have a pretty big range. So I don't want to like paint you as just like a yelling rapper at all. So can you recall a point in your development as an artist where you kind of stopped looking up to other artists as much and you sort of stopped aspiring to be as good as others? You sort of located your own voice, maybe started concentrating more on nurturing that as opposed to looking outside of yourself for validation?
Nah, bro. I mean, that's really, you know, those were not my problems.
Okay.
My music has been what it is, but, you know, where I live, where I'm from, who I be around, the music doesn't resemble anything that they're fucking with. You know what I'm saying? It's just like I'm the guy where it's just like, oh, you still rap? You know what I mean? If I haven't seen people in 10, 15, 20 years, like, oh, you still rap? You still doing that? You know what I'm saying? it's never been outsourced. Like rap has never been a place where I was like gaining real world validation, resources. Like that really wasn't my world, you know? So it was always just like, just this whatever in me, just appetite in me, just like pursue it this way and how I want to pursue it, you know? I'm just where I'm at right now with this, you know, people are fucking with it.
I think I'm trying to ask, like, you know, when you're 7, when you're 10, or I guess maybe you didn't start rapping until you're 17. So is that true? You didn't start rapping until you were 17?
Yeah, I was, yes.
Okay. So like, I guess some people when they're younger, like me, I started when I was a 10-year-old, like trying to rap like Will Smith and like, oh man, I wish I could be as good as the Beastie
Welcome
Boys.
to Miami.
You know, I literally like looked up to people. So maybe you never had that point where you're like, man, I wish I was as good as, you know, fucking Raekwon or something. Did you ever feel like you're trying to get to that level, or was it always more like I already have the confidence to like do my own thing?
I'm a dickhead, man. I'm a dickhead. So
you had an ego from the start.
It was always here.
Okay.
It's just rap. You know what I'm saying? It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. You know what I mean? Like you make your little weird records. You know what I mean? Like, but nah, I never thought I was whack. Even when I was whack. You know what I'm saying? But it was, I don't know, dude.
So you're saying you're not that proud of some of your early works, or what?
No, I can listen to all my early work. I've never said, you know, there's not many things that I think I've said on early works that I couldn't like enjoy or appreciate or like be ashamed of more. Yeah, I couldn't be ashamed of like what I did, what I said, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe I would switch some things up these days, but yeah. But I never thought I was whack. Even when I was whack, I never thought I was whack.
Okay, here's a really big question that might not be answerable, but how would you describe your voice as an artist? Like, what are you trying to do, why, and how?
I haven't even figured that out yet, man.
Still working on
that. I don't even really think about it, man. Yeah. I really don't. These are not like even like.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't.
It doesn't really factor in. It doesn't really factor in, man. I'm just really just trying to, like, again, it's this appetite, man. Like, I don't know. It's just what I do. And I'm in a place right now where I can do it more than I've ever done in my whole life. And I don't know, dog. I don't even think of these ways, you know? It's a lot of fun. And yeah, I'm just very much interested in just like pushing shit. Like it's fun pushing shit. I wish I could make music like these are sounds you've never fucking heard before in your life.
Yeah.
Like, when can I get to that level? Like consistently, you never heard this sound. Every song is a sound you've never fucking heard. Well, I'm trying to reach like that level of shit, you know?
That's an awesome goal. I support that. Let's talk a little bit about the new album, I Told Bessie. Bessie is your grandma, right?
It's Gramps. Yes, it is. Miss Bessie left us in 2017.
Okay. Why did you title the album that, and how does it relate to the cover art and the music?
Well, the cover art is an old family photo. It's my Uncle Everett. I can't talk about Bessie without talking about Everett, her son, my dad's brother. And the dog's name is Kemba. And they were just playing. But yeah, obviously when you see the picture, you know, like who's attacking who? Is he in defense for the dog attacking him? Is he like abusing the dog? And I like that sort of suspension, that place in the middle. I've probably seen that photo like 10 times my whole life. But I don't know. I went back to the house, to my parents' house, and I was like, looking through pictures. And yeah, that one came and I was like, immediately knew, like that was it. I knew that was going to be the cover.
Do you think that who's attacking who question could relate at all to any of the themes in the lyrics, or is that grasping for straws?
It might be grasping for straws, but it's still a good idea. It's a good way to like look at it too. But I don't know. You know, if it's really showing up in the music in like a clear, defined way, but I recognize that. And like something about that just really fucking struck me. it does play out in everyday life. You know, we all live in our own like reality tunnels. You know what I mean? We have our own worlds, and like you can be aligned in other people's worlds, but two people can be like in the same room, like doing the same shit. But like sometimes like how people like be receiving the world and people, you don't share a reality with that person. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'll get in an argument or something, and then you're like, what?
Right.
We don't share the same reality. You know what I mean? So I respect that idea.
I bug myself out every once in a while thinking about the fact that we can never know that we're sharing the same understanding or perspective as anyone else, really. Because we're not unless you're psychic or something. We can't read minds yet.
Not yet.
I need to spend more time with the album to properly absorb it, but so far, as I've been listening, I drew some possible things out of it. In the intro to the album, especially, and throughout the album and your catalog as well, I hear like a certain sense of lamentation or mourning. Obviously, there's plenty to be upset about in this world. And there's also like rays of hope and a sense of appreciation throughout it. It's not like it's all darkness. But in this album, it seems like you're grappling with success maybe, and the new challenges and stresses that is introduced, and some maybe pervading issues that success doesn't really help, that maybe we thought, success could help. Or if I'm interpreting that right at all, can you elaborate on those feelings and how you've been adjusting to a degree of quote unquote making it as an artist in recent years, and how it's changed things for you and what has stayed the same?
Yeah, it was I'm not sure. It's interesting, like, people's perception of like whatever is happening, whether that affects the real world. But when I told Bessie, like we were on tour. Arm & Hammer was on tour. We had never been on tour in that way before. You know what I mean? Haram, the record with Alchemist, Haram. We had a record, Shrines before that. But yeah, I think, I was still, Arm & Hammer. Really fire tour. So I don't know. I'm not really like grappling with success. If anything, obviously like welcoming of that shit. What you're saying, maybe in the next things,
right?
Maybe that'll come out.
So like, what about the line? What is it? It's something like, I'm in heaven, can't wait to get out, or something. What is it?
Just got to heaven and I can't sit down.
Right. So what does that mean?
Oh man, it's a 100-year-old phrase. It's like Black Southern dialect. It's in so many blues songs. Just got to heaven and I can't sit down. It's just a beautiful turn of phrase for me, Yeah, sure. I've been spelling. If anything, it's a celebration of, not a lamentation, but a celebration of like what I've been able to do, like what I'm doing, like my place in this shit, like right the fuck now, just got to heaven and I can't sit down. It's like, I'm not done.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not finished right now. You know what I mean? I'm still working. I'm in a different, a different place. But yeah, I'm not finished.
Two plans that weren't for tomorrow. Two hands to plant what walks beyond us. Needings and wantings, no fault of conscience. Secrets and hauntings, seasons of harvest I'm carrying. Iscariot's litter the valley. Fear not in the shadow. Peppermint and aloe poured upon the crown, still shining. South Jamaica, Queens, Strong Island. JFK, Sonic Boom, all the places I've been spelling. Just got to heaven and I can't sit down. Just got to heaven and I can't sit down.
Yeah, like for me as a listener, it seems like you and Woods together have gone from like relatively unknown to being able to sell out large theaters and hopefully make a good deal of money from your music.
Yeah, it's been a crazy run. Crazy, we're just getting started. It feels like, even though I've been making music with Woods for 10 years plus, things have changed, for sure. Things have changed.
I've been thinking recently about how a lot of artists seem to lose their creative spark after they experience some amount of critical acclaim and fandom, as if maybe it's the fame itself that can be detrimental to an artist's creativity. And I've been thinking about how being a celebrity of sorts might be like a drug, maybe like a cocaine addiction, where you just want more of it, and it eventually warps a person's mind so that they become a bigger and bigger asshole, and their art might also suffer as a result. I think as fans of music and celebrities, we can all think of plenty of examples of this. And I know you may not consider yourself a celebrity, but you have achieved a certain level of fame where you'll often probably walk into a room at a concert, for example, and many more people know you than you know them. And it seems like even small amounts of fame could have a certain psychological effect. And have you ever thought about these things at all, or been conscious of any effects of being gassed up at all?
I'm not really into the fame thing, Woods covers his face.
Yeah.
Not in, I'm not really into that.
It could be dangerous.
There's something funny, I guess. Yeah, of course. The pitfalls of fame and all that shit that comes with it. We always go for the glamorous sort of thing, like the drugs and the bitches. But also, people shrink because there's too much fame. People are scared of success, and people fucking die in obscurity because they actually just couldn't take that left step.
Yeah.
And they just, you know what I mean? It happens so many different ways. I don't know, man. I'm just trying to just, as long as I'm making music or whatever it is I'm doing, but I'm just making music right now. If I'm just making music, what I just strive to do is just to challenge myself and try to do things that maybe I didn't do in the past.
Yeah.
I just have a world, you know what I mean, where my wife, this was funny when it happened. Tom York had put us on like a playlist. He did I think it's Sonos, one of those like streamer companies or whatever. Right. He did a mix for them. He put like 2 Arm & Hammer songs in there. I heard he was Tom York and The Smile, like his other group. Like they were at the Montreal Jazz Festival like last week, and they was playing like Arm & Hammer songs as they like coming out on stage. That's fire as fuck.
Oh, that's awesome.
So he's doing the mix, right? He did the mix.
Yeah.
And it's Tom fucking York. All right, you know what I mean? It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I went and told my wife, and she said, "Who's Tom York?" So it's like, this is, I'm tempered in many ways. I'm tempered, So I don't know. This fame thing, who knows?
You mentioned a little bit ago about your goal to kind of create new sounds that no one has heard. And I've heard you grow as a producer. I think you're one of the most interesting hip-hop producers out there, and maybe your rapping has overshadowed that a bit, but you've done plenty self-produced music in the past. But I feel like at this point, based on your last couple of mostly instrumental projects, what was it? Every Egg I Cracked Today was Double Yoked and Seership.
Yeah.
I thought those were great, and you really do seem to be getting to a place where you're creating truly unique sounds that don't remind me of a whole lot else. And I think that's a great achievement. And I would love to hear a 2022 era Elucid self-produced rap album. Do you think there's any chance that the fans will get to hear a new self-produced Elucid album anytime soon?
No, probably not. I don't think so. I mean, making this record, who knows? I don't know. Again, it's just like challenging. I haven't done it yet. I really haven't done it yet. I started out that way. I started what came to be I Told Bessie. It started out that way as a self-produced record. I quickly abandoned the idea after a few songs. And yeah, I don't know. Even when I'm making this stuff, I don't really think about myself rapping on it. Usually. Yeah. Maybe other people, but usually it's not. I've listened to the loop, 7,000 times, and now I've got to think of rhymes. It's really difficult, I think. I think it's a really difficult thing to do. Yeah. Well, high level, like to produce and write a banging ass album is really tough to do, I think. So I'm not there yet.
Well, that's a good goal.
But yeah, those records, thank you. It's very kind, very kind. Every egg I cracked was double yolk. No one's ever actually said that to me.
Yeah, they're criminally underlooked
in the world. I've never heard anyone say the title of that album.
Really?
So that was fire. Yeah, I've never heard it. You say it. You said the whole title.
I had to write it down. To be honest, I didn't just remember it. It's a fucking long title, but
it's all good. It's a first for me. It was a first, that's never happened.
It's a cool title. Can you talk about what that means?
The day I made the record.
Yeah.
That was when it happened.
You really did that?
Yeah, it was like three plates of eggs. Swear to God.
Weird.
So, I mean, that's pretty significant. I was just like, fuck it.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
I don't expect to be a citizen of this planet.
All right, back to your production. Can you talk about your journey as a producer, how you feel you've progressed, and the approach or approaches that you've taken with production over the years?
I don't know, man. I make loops. I like effects. I like dub music. I like distortion and dirt. I like fucking static. I like shit that sounds like VCRs and like old cassette tape. And I'm just like, I don't know, man. I'm just like throwing shit around, really. Yeah. I'm throwing shit around and I'm playing with tempos and I'm playing with like colors. And that shit is a lot of fun. You know what I mean? It's really cool to do, especially like, I don't know. I just have a life and shit sometimes. So like, I don't know, like Monday through, I don't know, like making things on tour is really fun. You know what I mean? Just like having that chance to like really zone out. For like extended times or whatever. But anytime I get a chance to do that, like, yeah, if I'm fucking with sound, like it's just like a big fun, like collage.
Yeah.
Samples from anywhere, from the phone to a fucking shit I pirated off the internet. Like the wave file, it doesn't matter, it's just like layering shit, just putting things together, pitching things. Yeah.
It sounds really well mixed. Like, do you hand it off to Willie Green, or are you carefully mixing it, or is that just lucky?
Well, damn, thanks. Because, no, Willie Green is expensive. So Willie Green has mastered, I believe, he mastered seership. He did not master every egg. But yeah, it's just things that I've, just how I hear it. Just how I want it to be heard.
Yeah.
And, there it is.
Say you're not taking a lot of time with it, right? Or you said something like you're not overthinking it.
I think that's kind of like, it's how I go about like making music, whether it's like production or rhymes. It's just like there's a focus, and then there's like, well, what happens? You know what I mean? Like, I give it 30 minutes, wait for something to happen. Maybe give it an hour, wait for something to happen. Listen, and if it's not happening, just like put it down. You know what I'm saying? So it's like ideas can come together quickly with that like restraint on myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's dope, it's dope. If it's whack, it's whack. It's not just because it's done that way doesn't mean it's even good. But it's just a way of just like conditioning like myself, just to like just get what you're thinking about, get it out. You know, it's not this hard. It's not this hard. You know what I mean? It's art.
Right.
Yeah, it's just doing that repeatedly. Trying to fall into that mind frame repeatedly and actually like being active.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like you're talking maybe about a sort of balancing act where you're able to take risks and not get into the critical editing mode too much while you're doing that. But are there times, like certain artists like myself, for example, I'll be in that mode creating, and then I'll take some time away from it and go back and be like, oh, that sounded great in the moment, but I kind of hate that right now. I'm going to edit and change that. Do you run into that?
Sure. Especially, it's so easy with the making beats and shit, like laying it out in GarageBand. Yeah, for sure. Things change. I don't know. So it was like that wire balancing act of just like committing to it, but not,
Yeah.
Sure. Taking time away from things, you're going to hear it differently, and how you start crafting it from that moment, is how you feel today, but that's not how you felt that day.
Yeah.
That's cool too.
Would you say that editing is a big part of your process then?
Yeah, because I do it.
Yeah.
But it's not like putting any weight on it. It's just like, I just done this thing, and for whatever reason, this song makes me like, I need to like subtract this. Yeah. I feel like I need to add. Anytime you feel like you need to change at a moment, it's just like, all right, you can, But again, I don't know, man. I trust when I'm saying this. Not right now. I'm speaking of like as a rapper. You know what I mean? As a rapper, it's just like really capturing like a moment. I don't like punching in. I need to do the verse from top to bottom, like as a live performance, sort of. It's just how it is. You know what I mean? I know when I create a song, if it's like, I don't need to touch this. Nothing changes here. And there are times where like you might tinker, a little bit.
Right.
I don't know. I've never had this battle where it was like something that like disabled me. You know what I mean? I spent I held up an album production because I couldn't make a decision on this sound or this chorus. It's really trusting in those moments way before that,
Yeah.
As in during the actual creation, saying really just trust, you know what I mean? Just trusting like what I did in that moment.
Are there cases of just abandoning lyrics or a song completely rather than tinkering it and reworking?
Yeah, totally.
Just toss a lot of stuff out.
Totally. But not really. It's just like, everything was in the cloud. You know what I mean? Like you have, or written down, or maybe you lost the paper, whatever. But, there's ideas. There's like, in a session where nothing was really what I thought was really good. Maybe I pulled a sliver of an image, of an idea, reused, mutated and upgraded, for something else, for sure.
Yeah. So I've been lathering you with compliments. I do think you're one of the greatest, and you deserve a lot of the, success and accolades you've been getting. But I'm curious how you regard criticism. Like I've gathered from hearing you in other interviews that sometimes you get annoyed at people saying that your work is dense or coded, hard to digest. Like I got into it with Woods about that when I talked to him. Like I think it can be kind of annoying for people to keep saying that about your work. And we don't need to retread that unless you want to talk about it. But I'm wondering if there are any critiques that you've sort of taken to heart, or if it's something you just try to ignore completely, the audience or critical reactions to your work? Maybe that could be detrimental to creativity. I don't know. How do you regard criticism?
I mean, why am I listening to criticism? I don't know these people. Like, why? You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't be hearing everything. You actually shouldn't be hearing everything.
No.
It's cool to like, you know, sometimes I read it and sometimes I don't. And I'll retweet it because it exists, but I didn't read it sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, it's
sure.
Why am I listening to some guy?
Well, the danger, I guess, would be that it could be paralyzing if you really do start second guessing yourself too much.
Yeah.
And then maybe there could be times where something resonates with you. Like, this is just from my own experience.
Well, I have criticisms of writers.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? Like, they don't care. Like,
sure.
So I don't really care. It doesn't really mean. Yeah, I don't really care.
Okay, I hesitate to get into this one, but I'm gonna do it anyway. On the last episode, this young MC that I featured in the intro criticized Arm & Hammer's live show as kind of lacking energy. And in your defense, I'll say that a live show isn't always supposed to be about getting hype and dancing. There's a spectrum, of course, from like classical music where typically it seems natural to just sit and listen intently, to a punk or metal show where moshing feels more appropriate. And then there's also things like noise or other quote-unquote experimental forms of music in which like confusing the listener or creating some sort of like liminal space might be the artist's goal. And yeah, it seemed like you responded with an angry tweet, like it was like, stay your dead ass home. I assume that was a response to what he said in there. Yeah, so I wonder...
It wasn't angry.
Basically, I just wonder what your actual response is to that comment and how you do intend for the crowd to experience your music live.
The internet is interesting and how we can like read things and assign our own internal like tone to it. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's not angry. I mean, it's something my grandfather would say. It's a naughty lyrical style. I mean, if you came to like get buck, go to a Baby Mother show.
Right.
Shout out Baby Mother. Shout out Fly Anakin. I mean, people have all sorts of experiences at Arm & Hammer shows. People tell me all sorts of crazy shit at the end of the show and how they've experienced it. And I love it. I love it all, you know? So I don't know. People come with expectations and I'm sorry I didn't meet your expectation. Shout out to everybody who like hangs around at the end on the merch line for an hour. Shout out to y'all, man. Tell me all these cool stories. Thank y'all. Thank y'all.
I look forward to checking out an Elucid or Arm & Hammer show because I would consider it like an honor to be in the presence and just kind of make that pilgrimage and take it on its own terms rather than expecting anything in particular.
No, man, me and Wiz are working hard out there, man. We were rapping very hard. With precision. I love being out there, man. Yeah.
And another critique that I brought up in the last episode, which maybe it's not a critique actually, but just like this visceral reaction I've had to your music. I love it. I think it's great. But there's this, every once in a while I get like shocked when you go into like explicit kind of jarring descriptions of sex. And I grew up listening to Two Live Crew and Eazy-E, and it doesn't get much more like intense than that. But it's some reason I think maybe it's like the context, the fact that maybe the way I regard you, and then all of a sudden it's like, and my shaft is in her hole or whatever. Like, it's like, whoa, like.
Never said that.
That's not a direct quote.
I got time, you got time. Slip away, slip inside. Surrender all, spread it wide. your daddy is a sensitive nigga. Baby, your daddy is a sensitive nigga. The pleasure's all mutual. Post coital snack superfood. Shadow move in the nude. Thrash my head round. Candlelight boom rattle gently. I kept my Timbs on. Lube plenty. Tongue cramp. Heavy lip. I giggle when my belly kiss. Hum the clip. Make the pussy spit. Came like thunder. Pull up to a bumper.
Okay, but the question is like, what is your intention there? Is it just like stream of conscious and this is just like a thought that comes in, or is there more of like an intention and like an intended reaction that the audience maybe is supposed to have to this, or are you just like a horny guy that like has sex on the mind a fair amount, like many of us are? What's the science behind it?
When I started having more sex, I started rapping about sex more. Because, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I don't know, man. This is just like, my music is like what I think about and what I do. And sex is what I do as part of this. You know what I mean? So like, why wouldn't I write about like what I do? People like particular kind of sex. I'm writing, right? So it should have like a, you know, like what level I'm trying to be, how free, you know. I don't know, man. It's just what you into. You know, you should do like really like, you should really, there's a line on like the white label project, you know, the limited edition vinyl. There's a line, it's like, Nia, when I see you, I just want to sniff your leotard. Like, I don't know, it's just some cool everyday kinky shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's nothing crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like sex. Who doesn't like sex? So because I live it, because I think about it, it comes out, you know, that's all.
Yeah. And I respect that kind of honesty. And I like that you're challenging my sensibilities and expectations in that way. So, yes, I respect it. So we've kind of been skirting around the subject of intention in your art and what your aims are as far as how an audience receives it. And I gather that there are times when you're really just trying to please yourself, or maybe other times when you're kind of like purging or engaging in a cathartic sort of self-exploration or something. And other times, maybe when you're imagining how people outside of yourself might be affected by the work. Can you talk about your sort of orientation to the imagined audience versus your own satisfaction?
Are you talking about songs like Split Tongue?
I'm really talking about in general, like when you're creating, and I guess it's probably different depending on the song. Like maybe some songs are like you're thinking of a certain person, that how they might receive it, or maybe I don't know. I mean, there's all different kinds of intentions when people create art, and I'm just kind of like wondering what yours tend to be.
Well, there's always an intention, but it's usually about myself.
It's for yourself more than others.
Yeah, I kind of just like it's for myself.
Yeah.
I think about the song Split Tongue, which was like an early song recorded, and it definitely was like, this is gonna be a keeper. I don't even know why yet, but it was just like something in that feeling, just in that chant, in that mood. Yeah, it just felt really good to me. It feels very pleasurable. You know what I mean? So I was like, I just hyped off that feeling, like what it gave. That, and I was just like, I don't know. I'm scared to play it for people because it's like, I don't know. It's intimate. That's intimate shit.
Will you say, will you say, tongues untied conjure, lungs wide deep in power, got buckets spill of foot. The sounds were the strangest before word was formed in the beginning, vibrating between flesh and teeth, air escapes.
Because I'm telling like this is my experience. It's how I might think about something So yeah, I just think it's cool to do it that way. You know, people can draw to it, you know, and interpret it in ways that may mirror and then may completely not, and that's cool too. So yeah, I don't really think. I just try to I just want to just be honest. I just want to be honest.
Elucid and I go on to talk about more of his formative musical experience, his early years as a rapper, and more in our bonus episode. You can hear that and all of our past bonus episodes featuring exclusive discussions with Billy Woods, Mike Ladd, Big Juss, Dose One, Orko Elohim, and many more for just $3 at patreon.com/weirdrap. Now, we got a lot of angry messages about Old Grape God's utter trashing of the latest Buck 65 album on our last episode. I normally stay away from negative reviews. I generally don't want to engage in that sort of critique. But I let Grape God express how he felt about the album. I was curious to hear his thoughts, even though he was basing his thoughts on a pretty cursory listen of just a few tracks. And it seemed to rub a lot of people wrong. I even had a sponsor who said they wanted to pull out of their deal with me because of it. Even before the episode came out, I had reservations about that segment. I considered amending my own comments on Buck 65 albums. I considered amending my own comments on Buck 65's album because I thought I might have been overly harsh and I might have even been influenced a bit by Old Grape God at the time. I'll just say I have since re-listened to the album, and I do think it's very well crafted and creative, and it deserves to be understood in its proper context, which is that Buck 65 is a well-seasoned rap veteran, deeply steeped in rap history from its beginnings. He clearly has a massive respect for the culture, and his art should be taken seriously. And I'll also mention I would love to interview him someday. I think he's very interesting and a groundbreaking artist, so. Anyway, I apologize if the last episode left a negative impression on Buck's album. It's called King of Drums, and I highly suggest everyone check it out and make your own judgments.
Cross the Gibraltar, straight bound for Portugal. Cross me, the punishment's disproportional. Council of the Oracle, break the monotony like pottery. I am a dichotomy, wearing X-ray specs. Cashing paychecks, regular train wrecks, better than an apex predator. Glass bottle, bit of gasoline, add an old rag and some polystyrene. That's a Molotov cocktail. Molotov cocktail. Back against the wall and you refuse to lose. Spark a little flame, then you light the fuse. That's a Molotov cocktail.
And I have to apologize again, because in the last episode, I referred to you, the listeners, as assholes, fucking pieces of shit, and fuckfaces. I have been slightly disappointed with the fact that I have a relatively large amount of listeners compared to a pathetic amount of support that I receive in the form of ratings, reviews, and recommendations, which I've made very simple to do at weirdrap.com/rating. But I was being very sarcastic in the last episode. I thought I was being funny. I was not really angry like I may have sounded. And I don't think you're fuckfaces or fucking pieces of shit or assholes. This is a message that I received in response to that. Hey, I wanted to reach out as a fan and patron of your music and the Weird Rap podcast. It's clear that you are fully invested in what you do, and I think you're damn good at it. I hear your calls and pleas for reviews and feedback. I get it. You put a ton of effort into this stuff, and it's disheartening if you feel like nothing's coming back to you in kind. So as a regular listener, I just want to say I couldn't review the show because before recently, I never had an Apple product, and Google Podcasts doesn't have a review option as far as I can tell. But since I just got an iPhone, I realized, hey, I can finally review Weird Rap. So I threw up the 5 stars that have sat in limbo for nearly 2 years. I guess I feel compelled to say, while you weren't calling me a piece of shit, you kind of are. As just one person, I guess all I can say is that I never reviewed your show because as far as I knew, I couldn't. I don't know. For some reason, I feel like I have to explain this because getting told, fuck you, even though I've tried to support the show as best I could through other means, Patreon, subscribing on Google, trying to spread the word, for a long time, it just kind of stinks. In any case, I hope this message doesn't piss you off further, but regardless of your response, my review still stands. Take care, and I truly appreciate what you do. Well, I always appreciate any feedback, so thank you. It's good for me to reflect on how I come across. I do greatly appreciate all of the support that I do get, and the Weird Rap audience seems to be slowly but surely growing, and I'm really happy about that. I will remind everyone that whether you have an Apple account, a Gmail address or Google account, a Spotify or Facebook account, you can, in less than a minute, help me battle the algorithms by going to weirdrap.com/rating. Now, Weird Rap is proud to present the first in what will be an ongoing series created by the incredible MC and producer Deacon Burns of Kounterclockwise. This is episode 1 of The Adventures of Kounterclockwise.
Welcome to the Great Adventures of Kounterclockwise, a hip-hop sci-fi odyssey full of spins, spine-tingling twists and turns, teeming with adventure into worlds never before seen, where friendships are forged and tested. Danger will be lying in your midst. Into the depths of mind-bending phenomena, in interdimensional travel we go. Witness extraterrestrial felines, intergalactic bounty hunters, gangster rappers, and a corrupt drug-dealing, human trafficking police officer. All while a husband and wife, an alternative punk-hop duo, try to succeed in a slave-driving music business full of sharks, snakes, and smooth-talking criminals, killer government agents, and talking animals. The rat race for absolute power, money, freedom, success, and fame has begun. With the entire universe on the line, can Kounterclockwise, a Catopian princess, and a ragtag bunch of felines save the day? Let the adventures begin.
Princess, the stabilizers have lost all power. The engines are failing. The compressor turbine is on fire. The combustion chamber has just exploded. The ship only has 20% power. One more hit from that proton blast and all our defenses will be completely down.
SOS! This is Princess Lily from the Millennium Feline, and our ship is under attack and heavily damaged. SOS! Need assistance, please!
Princess Lily, I'm sending you a homing beacon. Contact Kounterclockwise. They should be able to help.
I have you now, Princess.
Activate the cloaking device.
What? Where did she go? No!
Brace yourselves! We're going to crash!
Deacon, wake up! We're gonna be late for the studio!
What?
Wake up! We're gonna be late for the studio!
Wait, what?
Deacon, wake up!
I can't hear you, man.
We're gonna be late
What?
for the studio!
Oh, I can't hear
Deacon,
nothing.
wake up! We're gonna be late!
This clock. I'm so sick and tired of this clock.
Are you happy now? You just broke the alarm clock.
Whatever, man. I break the clock every morning. What's the difference?
Well, first of all, it's not morning, it's almost noon. And we're gonna be late for the studio.
Yo, that's today?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I thought it was tomorrow. Alright, I'm getting up now. Yo, where's the remote for the TV at?
TV? We don't have time for all that. We're gonna be late for the session.
I know. But the TV motivates me to get up.
It's on the nightstand by the side of the bed.
Alright, give me a second. I'm getting up now. Let me just see what's on the idiot box.
The following is a Cleveland Tell All Lies breaking news report.
with Wendy Silverman.
This is Wendy Silverman reporting live for Channel 7 Tell-I News in Cleveland, Ohio for this breaking news report. The Cuyahoga County coroner has just released the identity of the 3-year-old African-American male who died after being shot to death by the Cleveland police officers Saturday morning. According to the coroner's report, Sherrod Johnson died Sunday night after being shot over 715 times in the abdomen outside of the local recreation center. And according to the police, witnesses reported that around 2:50 p.m. Saturday afternoon, a young African-American male was seen playing with what seemed suspiciously like a shiny red weapon. When the cops arrived, they ordered the boy to drop his weapon and raise his hands in the air. He did not comply, seeming to cry and suckled the red gun in a threatening gesture. 715 shots were fired, killing the suspect, and an additional 100 shots were fired when the suspect appeared to raise his red pacifier and cry for his mama. Wait, I'm getting something. Wait, hold on. Breaking news update. It has just come in that the police officer shot the 3-year-old criminal, Sherrod Johnson, an additional 103 times in his casket, thinking the young thug was still armed with a gun, and again shooting his casket an additional 400 times at the burial, assuming he was a baby terrorist and strapped with a suicide bomb. Head Officer Hate Pig Nitty had this to say.
Well, this was definitely not a racist act. My fellow officers and I feared for our lives. We're not the bad guys here, remember? We're only here to shoot and kill. I'm sorry. I mean protect and serve. I liked it. He was smoking full of holes. I'm just kidding. I feel really bad.
Yo, this episode of the Great Adventures of Kounterclockwise was sponsored by...
They murdered his family and stole his daughter, even killed his dog, and framed him for the crime. Now, after 20 years in Pelican Bay, Ranger Tex is free and out for blood.
Ranger Tex, you're alive
And out for justice. Starring Greg Matthews as Ranger Tex. Coming this fall.
You can check out the music and animated films of Deacon Burns and Kounterclockwise on YouTube and elsewhere. That's Counter with a K. I'll quickly mention the new book, My Kaleidoscope by Micah 9, and various contributors, including myself. I haven't gotten too far in reading the book yet, so I won't review it, but it starts off great, and I was honored to be asked to write a little bit about one of rap's most inventive, influential, and not properly recognized MCs. The book even quotes the Volume 10 and Self Jupiter interviews from this podcast, which is pretty cool, I think. So you can check that out. If you're interested, it's published by Parker Pubs Press. And if you're interested in Weird Rap's official Cool Keith or Dr. Octagon t-shirts, or the new StapleMouth album on vinyl, or various other music releases, or our social media links, or other Weird Rap endeavors, you can find it all at weirdrap.com. Till next time, as StapleMouth would say, let go of the past in order to face the future and continue growing in your weird, winding way.